There is one thing you should never do with your old clothes. If you've done it, you may have been silently giving away your luck, your blessings, and your prosperity to complete strangers. I'm talking about donating or giving away your worn garments without performing a sacred release ritual, one that ancient Kabbalists and rabbis have used for over 2,000 years. What you wear absorbs your energy, your struggles, your victories, and when you hand those clothes to someone else without proper spiritual severance, you may create an energetic leak that drains your fortune like an open faucet. You might think I'm exaggerating, but by the end of this, you'll understand why some of the wealthiest Jewish families never give away clothing carelessly. I'm going to show you what's happening on a mystical and psychological level. More importantly, I'm going to share a 3-step protection ritual to reverse any damage and reclaim your spiritual wealth. Starting tonight, let me start by sharing something most people don't know about clothing in Jewish tradition. Every single morning, observant Jews recite a blessing called Malbish Arumim, which means, who clothes the naked. This isn't just gratitude for having something to wear. Kabbalah teaches that clothing is a divine gift of dignity, not merely fabric to cover the body. In the Torah, when Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden, God himself made garments for them. This wasn't about shame, it was about elevation. In Jewish mysticism, clothing represents a bridge between the physical and the spiritual, between who we are in our raw, vulnerable state and who we become when we step into the world with intention and purpose. When you choose what to wear each morning, you're not just getting dressed. You're performing a sacred act of alignment. You're asking yourself, who am I becoming today? The garments you select carry a frequency. They either elevate your energy or drain it. Scientists in the field of enclothed cognition have shown that what we wear can impact our mental performance, our confidence, and even how others perceive and treat us. But ancient rabbis understood this long before any laboratory study. They taught that clothing is a vessel, and every vessel either holds blessing or holds burden. Now let's go even deeper. The Torah dedicates an entire section to the garments of the Kohanim, the Jewish priests who served in the Holy Temple. These weren't ordinary clothes. They were called Bigdei Kehuna, priestly garments, and they were designed with one explicit purpose: kavod v'tiferet, honor and glory. The high priest wore specific colors, fabrics, and symbols that aligned him with divine energy so powerfully that he could enter the Holy of Holies once a year on Yom Kippur and emerge alive. His clothing wasn't decoration. It was spiritual technology. It transformed him from an ordinary man into a conduit between heaven and earth. And here's what that means for you. When you understand your garments are not neutral, you begin to treat your closet like a sacred space. You stop wearing things that make you feel small, unworthy, or stuck. You stop holding on to the outfit from the worst period of your life, the one that reminds you of failure or heartbreak every time you see it. Because Kabbalah teaches that objects absorb energy, and clothing, which touches your skin for hours every day, absorbs more than almost anything else in your home. Let me share the 4 levels of energy that Kabbalah attributes to clothing. This comes directly from the Zohar, the foundational text of Jewish mysticism. Every piece of fabric you've worn carries 4 distinct layers of your personal energy field. First, the physical, your sweat, your skin cells, the literal biological residue of your body. Second, the emotional, the joy you felt wearing that dress to a celebration, or the anxiety you carried in that suit during a stressful interview. Third, the mental, the thoughts you repeated to yourself while wearing those jeans, thoughts of confidence or thoughts of defeat. And fourth, the deepest one, the spiritual, the intentions you held, the prayers you whispered, the version of yourself you were becoming while those garments hung on your frame. Now imagine this. You take that piece of clothing, saturated with all 4 layers of your essence, and you donate it to a thrift store without a second thought. What happens? That energy doesn't just disappear. It transfers. Someone else picks it up. They feel something they can't explain. Maybe heaviness, maybe a strange sense of familiarity. And you, the original owner, have scattered a piece of your energetic signature into the world with no protection, no closure, no blessing. Ancient Jewish mystics would call this spiritual negligence. And modern energy psychology is starting to catch up. Studies on psychometry, the idea that some people can read energy from objects, suggests that highly sensitive individuals may pick up emotional imprints from clothing, jewelry, even furniture. You're not imagining it when a certain sweater makes you feel sad for no reason, or when you put on a jacket and suddenly feel powerful. The garment is speaking. Let me give you a practical example. I once worked with a woman named Ilana who couldn't understand why she kept experiencing financial setbacks. She had a good job. She tithed. She followed Jewish money principles. But every time she got ahead, now I know what some of you are thinking. Isn't giving away clothing an act of charity? Isn't that a good thing? Absolutely. Tzedakah, righteous giving, is one of the highest commandments in Judaism. But here's the distinction that changes everything. There's a difference between giving with intention and dumping with negligence. When you give clothing as an act of conscious blessing, after you've released your attachment to it, and after you've energetically severed the cord between you and that garment, you're performing a mitzvah, a sacred deed. But when you're just cleaning out your closet to make space, tossing bags into a donation bin without a single thought or prayer, you're not giving. You're leaking. You're creating what Kabbalists call a ruptured vessel. And here's where it gets even more serious. In certain spiritual traditions, including branches of folk Kabbalah and various mystical systems around the world, personal items like clothing, hair, and nails are used in rituals. These are documented practices that have existed for millennia. If someone with ill intent, or even someone carrying heavy energy, ends up with your clothing, there's a possibility that your energetic signature could be pulled, manipulated, or unintentionally tied to theirs. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it to wake you up. You wouldn't give a stranger your social security number. So why hand them an object soaked in your personal energy field without any protection? Let me share what happened to a man named David from Tel Aviv. He donated an entire wardrobe after losing a significant amount of weight. He was proud of his transformation and wanted to help others, so he gave away everything, about 40 pieces, to a local charity without any ritual or blessing. Within 2 months, he started experiencing strange exhaustion, disrupted sleep, and a series of inexplicable accidents. Nothing major, but enough to make him feel like he was living under a cloud. His rabbi suggested he may have given away his clothing without proper spiritual release, and that the energy of those garments, carrying both his old identity and his new one, was now fragmented and scattered. They performed a retroactive severance prayer, and David reported that within days, the strange occurrences stopped. He felt like himself again. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you understand energy, when you respect the invisible architecture of how blessings and burdens move through objects, you stop dismissing these patterns as random. Now, we need to pause and recognize something important. Everything I've shared so far has been about the positive principles, the ways clothing can elevate you, protect you, and serve as a tool for dignity and spiritual alignment. But there's one practice, one careless habit that most people engage in, and it cancels out all of these blessings. And I'm about to reveal it. If you've made it this far, it means you're ready. So let me ask you something. Have you been feeling stuck financially, even though you work hard? Have you noticed opportunities slipping through your fingers at the last moment? Have you felt drained, like something is quietly siphoning your energy, and you can't figure out what it is? If you answered yes to any of these, pay very close attention to what I'm about to say, because this might be the missing piece you've been searching for. Here's the moment you've been waiting for, the forbidden practice, the thing ancient Kabbalists warned against, that wealthy Jewish families never do, and that most people engage in without realizing they're creating a spiritual disaster. Never give away old clothes without proper spiritual release. Let me say that again. Do not donate, gift, or discard any piece of clothing you've worn repeatedly without first performing an energetic severance. Here's why. When you give away clothing carelessly, without intention, you are quite literally handing your luck to someone else. You're transferring your energy, your struggles, unresolved emotions, and personal frequency to a stranger. Worse, you're creating what metaphysical traditions call misdirected energy and karmic debt. Let me break this down. First, there's the issue of energy misdirection. Every garment you've worn holds a record of who you were while you wore it. If you wore that shirt during financial struggle, it carries that frequency. If you wore that dress during a painful breakup, it holds that emotional signature. When you give it away without clearing it, that energy doesn't disappear, it goes with the garment. Now someone else is walking around wearing your pain, your fear, your lack. And you've just sent a piece of your life force into the world with no blessing, no protection, no closure. It's like leaving a door open in your home and wondering why you feel cold all the time. You've created an energetic leak, and prosperity cannot flow into a vessel that's leaking. Second, there's the issue of psychic binding. In folk traditions across the world, from Jewish mysticism to African spiritual systems to indigenous practices, personal items are used in rituals to create connections between people. Your clothing, especially items worn close to your skin, carries your scent, sweat, and energetic imprint. In the wrong hands, these items could theoretically be used in ways you would never consent to. I'm not saying this happens often. I'm saying it's possible, and wise people don't take unnecessary risks. Would you hand a stranger a vial of your blood? Of course not. So why hand them fabric that has absorbed your essence for years? Third, there's the prosperity block. Old, worn-out garments carry depleted energy fields. They've absorbed not only your good days, but your bad ones. They've soaked up every worry, every tear, every moment of self-doubt. When you release these items without neutralizing that energy, you're essentially giving someone a battery that's leaking acid. And because that energy is still connected to you on a subtle level, it can rebound, can create interference in your own energy field. Kabbalah teaches, what you release unconsciously, you lose consciously. If you scatter your fortune by carelessly giving away objects that hold your personal power, you shouldn't be surprised when your finances, your health, and your relationships begin to scatter as well. Let me give you a contrast to drive this home. Remember the priestly garments we talked about earlier, the big day kahuna. Those garments elevated and sanctified. They were created with intention and worn with reverence. And when they were no longer usable, they were retired with ceremony, not tossed into a bin. But when you give away clothing without any ritual, without blessing, without conscious release, you're doing the opposite. You're degrading the sacred act of giving into thoughtless disposal. Design magazines and minimalism influencers will tell you to declutter and donate as if it's automatically virtuous. And it can be, when it's done correctly, when you honor the energetic reality of what's happening. Otherwise, you're not simplifying your life. You're fragmenting your spirit. I don't want you to panic. I don't want you to feel guilty if you've done this. Most people have. I have. Your parents have. But here's the beauty of spiritual knowledge. Once you know better, you can do better. Your ancestors, the ones who carried this wisdom before it was forgotten, knew exactly how to handle this. They had a process, a protocol, a sacred way to release clothing so both the giver and the receiver were blessed, not burdened. Here are the 3 steps to the sacred clothing release ritual. This works whether you're donating to charity, giving to a friend, or discarding items too worn to pass on. Step 1. Purification before release. Wash the garment one final time, not just to clean it, but to clear it. As you wash it, speak out loud or silently in your heart. I release all energy, all memories, all attachments from this garment. What was mine is now free. What was carried here is now cleared. If possible, add a pinch of salt to the wash water. Salt is one of the oldest and most powerful purifiers in Jewish tradition, used on the Shabbat table, in temple rituals, and in cleansing practices. After washing, hang the garment in direct sunlight for at least 3 to 6 hours. Let the sun do what it does best. Burn away shadows, illuminate what's hidden, and infuse the fabric with clean, neutral energy. If you live somewhere without strong sunlight, you can also pass the garment briefly through incense smoke, sage, or frankincense. The key is to reset it energetically so it no longer holds your story. Step 2. Energetic severance blessing. Once the garment is clean and sun-dried, hold it in your hands. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and say, "What was mine is now neutralized. I bless the next wearer with fresh fortune and clean energy. My luck remains with me. My blessings stay rooted in my life. I cut the cord with love and release this item into its next chapter." As you say this, visualize a golden thread connecting you to the garment and see it being gently cut. lovingly, cleanly, like spiritual scissors removing the final attachment. You're not rejecting the garment. You're honoring it by setting it free. And you're honoring yourself by reclaiming your energy. This isn't superstition. This is intention. And intention, as every Kabbalist knows, is a force that shapes reality. Step 3. Gratitude and redirection. Before you donate or give the item away, thank it. Yes, thank the garment for serving you, for keeping you warm, for making you feel confident, for being part of your journey. Gratitude is one of the highest frequencies, and when you infuse an object with gratitude before releasing it, you send it out with a blessing instead of a burden. Then be intentional about where it goes. Don't just drop it in a random bin. Choose a charity that aligns with your values. If you can, hand it directly to someone who needs it and say, "I hope this serves you well." If the garment is too worn to donate, consider repurposing the fabric. Or, if it's natural fiber, you can burn it ceremonially and return it to the earth. The point is this: you are in control. You direct the energy, not the other way around. Let me tell you what happened to Rebecca from Chicago. She performed this exact ritual before donating 40 pieces of clothing she'd been holding onto for years. Some were from college, when she was broke and struggling. Some were from a toxic relationship. Some were simply old and tired. She washed everything. She blessed everything. She released everything with intention. And within 3 weeks, she received an unexpected promotion at work. 3 weeks. She wrote to me and said, "I didn't realize I was holding on to my struggling years through my closet. The moment I let go with intention, it's like the universe said, 'Okay, now you're ready for more.'" That's the power of proper release. That's what happens when you stop leaking energy and start directing it. Now let's bring this full circle. Your clothing is not just fabric. It's a spiritual interface. It's a daily ritual of alignment or misalignment. It's a storage device for energy, memory, and frequency. And when you treat it as such, when you choose what you wear with intention and release what no longer serves you with ceremony and respect, you're not just organizing your closet. You're reorganizing your destiny. You're telling the universe, "I am no longer unconscious. I am no longer careless with my energy. I am a steward of my blessings, and I protect what's mine." And here's the final piece. This ritual is only the beginning. Your home is filled with objects, colors, symbols, and placements that either amplify your blessings or quietly block them. Your words, the way you handle money, the way you observe Shabbat, even the direction your bed faces matters. It all carries energy. And the families who know this, the ones who have passed these codes down for generations, are the ones who thrive in every season, who weather every storm, who seem to have a secret advantage. They do. And now, so do you. Let me leave you with this. Your clothing should dress your soul, not drain it. Your home should be your spiritual charger, not your karmic anchor. So tonight, go to your closet. Look at what's hanging there. Ask yourself, is this still me? Or is this a ghost of who I used to be? And if it's time to let go, do it the right way. Do it with intention. Do it with blessing. Do it with the knowledge that you are not giving your luck away. You are directing your energy exactly where it belongs. In your life, in your home, in your future. You are the guardian of your prosperity.